Oh, he disappeared on us. I swear he was just sitting there. There he comes. All right. Was that nature calling, or are you getting more coffee? Which one, Mosher?
I was actually looking for a Phillies T-shirt. I was going to throw one on to support the team, and I think it's dirty.
That's Nick Sirianni's job, Geoff.
Oh, that's a good point.
Cheap. Yeah, we don't need that.
And that's a quasi-red shirt. We'll accept that as a Philly shirt. You don't have to go full on brand on it, so we'll give you the props for it. All right, Moshe, here's where I want to start with you. I'm going to eliminate the easiest of easy answers, which is if I put players in and I asked you what has been the most impressive aspect of the Philadelphia Eagles, you'd probably go to Jalen Carter. You should, at least, because what he's done is kind of come. We knew he's going to be good. Nobody knew he's going to be this good. So I'm going to take an individual player out of it. So it's just an aspect of the Eagles: offense, defense, coaching, specific area on the field. What to you at 5-0, haven't lost yet, what has been the most impressive aspect of the Philadelphia Eagles through these first 5 games?
So I actually think I wouldn't have answered your question.
You wouldn't have gone Carter.
I would have done what you wanted me to do anyway, which was take a bigger picture look at it, not an individual. I would have told you that the most impressive thing about the Philadelphia Eagles, even more so than last year, is the play that they're getting in the trenches, in the offensive and defensive line. The offensive line, I think, has been, I think you would say more so than last year, because they've had 2 new right guards this year and haven't skipped a beat. And defensive line, it's very hard to lose a player as good as Javon Hargrave and say you're better. And I'm not here to disparage anything Javon Hargrave did.
Having a great year.
But he's doing what he does. He sacks quarterbacks. But the Eagles got tougher and meaner up front when he left, and they put Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis became, or is starting to become, the Jordan Davis that the Eagles wanted when they drafted him 2 years ago, which he was not last year. That combination right there in the middle of the Eagles defense has made them a bully. And I wouldn't quite call them last year. They were a bully against quarterbacks, but now they're a bully against running backs and quarterbacks.
Yeah. I'm with you. I said the best way I can describe Jalen Carter is the Eagles lost a $21 million defensive tackle on free agency, deservedly so, and they got better. And they got better. They are better.
They are.
Because Jalen Carter's that good of a player. In Los Angeles, Jeff, I was worried at halftime. I was worried. I said, oh, this is going to be a problem, because Cooper Kupp was killing this team. I mean, just killing them. And then second half comes around, over. Nothing. 80 yards of offense from the Rams. And I pointed to the one play, the more violent of the 2 sacks by Jalen Carter. And Matthew Stafford was looking for a flag, didn't get a flag, and he was done. That was it. So you talk about that bully aspect. Yeah. And Bucky Brooks was the guy, give him credit from NFL Media, said, and this was in the offseason, Bucky said, this is the best position group in the entire NFL. Any position group from any team, the Eagles defensive fronts, they win games because of their defensive line, their offensive line, and their quarterback. But have you ever seen a run like this?
No. I mean, even in the best days of, the early days of Andy, when they went to 4 NFC Championship games in a row and a Super Bowl, I think this team is still a better in the trenches team. To your point, and a deeper overall team in a lot of positions. I think what the Eagles do, John, that I haven't seen them do in a long time is even when they were good, is demoralize opponents. Because if you're on defense against the Eagles, you almost have to force a negative play or a +0 on first down. Because if they get 3 to 4 on first down, and it's now 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 7, and all they do is pick up 2 or 3 more, they got 2 more downs. They're coming. This is not 3 downs and punt if you don't get it. They convert 4th down, 4th and short. They convert 3rd and long with their running game as well as anybody. So if you don't get a 3rd down sack, if you don't get a stop on first down, which is hard because the Eagles' offensive line is so good, It's really hard to keep them from moving up and down the field. I really think the game against the Rams was closer in score than in actual identity. The Eagles had 6 or 7 drives of at least 10 plays or at least 60 yards. They were not necessarily stopped very much by the Rams defense. It was a grinded out game, which is what the Eagles have been doing. That's why the score doesn't get very high, because they just work the ball down the field and work the ball down the field. And on defense, they're demoralizing because they just come at you with that front four all the time. And you know what? Stafford probably to this day, I don't know, quarterbacks get over it in 24 hours, right? But if I'm Stafford, on Monday, I'm probably still thinking about how I missed Puka Nacua. Atwell for a touchdown there in, what was it, the third quarter? Is wide. I mean, he had a step.
And he missed a couple times down the field because he was hurried.
And that's what I mean. Yeah. You can miss a couple of throws, and again, it happens all the time. Jalen Hurts will miss 2 or 3 throws, but if you miss 3 throws against the Eagles, forget it. Like that's where it's demoralizing. You have to play a damn near perfect game against them.
All right, let me flip it over to the other quarterback. That would be the Eagles quarterback, Jalen Hurts. John and I just talked about this before we punch you up. Jalen had his best running game of the year by far on Sunday against the Rams. And for me, he ran with a purpose and he ran with aggressiveness as compared to what I described as tentativeness the first 4 games. And the coach got a little defensive about it after the game, saying, what y'all say? He can't do it anymore? No one said that, Coach. We just asked why he wasn't running the same way as he had. But Coach was ready to jump to his defense right away. Good for you, Coach. But now we got another week, and Jalen just kind of, some people speculating he wanted to prove a point and that he was going to show everybody. Yeah, I can do this anytime I want. Stop with the questioning here. Is he a running quarterback again this week? If we considered him a running quarterback last week, was that just to set the record straight, to plant the seed to other teams? Yeah, I can go whenever I need to. I can turn up. I can run to a tackle, get a first down. You don't be cheating on me. What kind of a rushing attack do you expect? What kind of a running contribution do you expect Jalen Hurts to make this week?
So let's go back to the way he ran against the Rams. I do think that while he carried 15 times, and that was a lot. That was twice as many as he's had in any game so far this year. And I definitely believe that from Jalen to the coaches to maybe even the front office, right? I believe there's been a directive to say, let's not take unnecessary hits. You're our big time guy now. You paid a lot of money. You've had injuries in each of the last 2 years. You've progressed as a passer. There's really no need. And honestly, teams are going to account for him in the run game, whether he's running or not. If you go watch what Minnesota did with Spy at times, or Jordan Hicks trying to play the gaps, but also trying to play the outside, and he never ran, but he has to be accounted for. So he doesn't necessarily have to run on the zone reads. And I think against the Rams, a lot of that running yards, a lot were on scrambles because he got out of the pocket and ran. And then a couple of times the Rams played some alignments, right? I mean, there was one alignment where both they came out with 2-3 techniques, which is, you got both defensive tackles over the guard's outside shoulder, and there's a channel a mile wide to run straight through the middle. That's where he just called his own number, ran straight up the middle, and got like 15 yards on it. So I do think some of that was, well, if you're going to give me that, I'm going to take it, right? Because I'm not even going to get hit. So there was some of that. I don't know if he's going to run 15 times against the Jets. The Jets do have a good pass rush, so I imagine he will probably have to make some plays.
They have good linebackers. Don't forget the Rams have the worst linebackers in the history of civilization. Those guys were a bit overmatched. Yeah, the Jets. This is the most talented defense they faced. I think this year from now. Jody and I
were pretty good. I mean, from a talent standpoint, I think.
The Bucks are very good. But the Jets have playmakers at all 3 levels. It won't be as easy because you can game plan for Aaron Donald. The Eagles did it very well. Slid everything his way. Even you rarely see chips for interior players. You saw chips for an interior player.
How about Kenny Gainwell putting a double chip on the same play in which he caught the ball and then bowled over some guys for first down? You don't really see that a whole often. That was pretty good.
Yeah, so they did a nice job game planning. I don't think they can do it this week with the Jets because other people can take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But boy, I look at this offensive line, and now Sua. And Jody asked me an interesting question yesterday, and he said, if they played right now, and actually I was on our buddy Paul Domowich's podcast, he asked me the same question, Jody.
Smart
If
minds
the
think alike.
49ers and the Eagles met today, who would I pick? And both Jody and Damo went with the 49ers. I went with the Eagles because I look at the 49ers. They have the great skill position players. Christian McCaffrey's unbelievable. Kyle Shanahan scheming up. Brock Purdy's playing like an MVP. They got 4 receivers that can gouge you. They have a Hall of Fame left tackle. But the other 4 offensive linemen are the worst players on the 49ers offense. And how are they going to deal with the Eagles defensive front? Vice versa, the Eagles can block anybody.
Yeah. Well,
Nick Bosa came in here last year.
Yeah.
No problem. That might be the best pass rusher in football.
It's a good point,
Lane
John.
Johnson.
I mean, as great as their offense is and looks and flashy, right? The base of their offense is still run and run action and playing off of that. And if you can't get good runs with McCaffrey or Eli Mitchell, whoever they have, if the Eagles are able to put them in difficult down and distance scenarios for Brock Purdy and say, make Brock Purdy win the game without that becomes really difficult. So I could see your point there. Yeah. However, if anybody is going to be able to take advantage of the issues the Eagles are having with communication on the back end, in the slot, be able to strike in that intermediary area, it would be the 49ers. So I could sort of seeing it being neck and neck a little bit, but I totally understand.
But the larger point, why I brought that up, the offensive line of the Eagles. So we talk about that on a consistent level. Now you lose Cam Jurgens, Sua Opeta. I was a little bit surprised that there wasn't more of a conversation because you have Jack Driscoll, who's played right guard in the past. You have Tyler Steen, who the Eagles drafted to be their right guard of the future. And they were like, and you know Nick Sirianni, Jeff, competitive advantage, everything. He doesn't want to admit everything. But with Sua, he said, no, we're going to go with Sua. Has he improved that much?
Well, one thing I was told, John, coming out of camp when we were all trying to figure out our 53s and we're all doing our homework, I was told by a pretty strong source that Sua Opeta was not just one of the most improved linemen in camp, but was one of the most overall improved players in the entire camp, which is hard sometimes to notice because he's always running like second or third team. For example, I was also told Julian Good-Jones was putting on some good tape, the third string center or whatever, but who would know that, right? From practice or tape? Who would have known Tanner McKee? Because those guys never get any reps in practice, and then you go see them in a game. So when I was told that, I was like, that was interesting. And it did make sense because I thought last year he started to turn the corner a little bit because he had to play as a guy who couldn't, when he first started out, remember, he could only play, I think, left guard. He could not play the right side. And this is just another Stoutland development story of a guy who was looked at as one way, but has now broadened his horizons, has developed, has got himself in that. The one thing about Sua, even when he came to the Eagles raw, was he really had strong hands. They would always say, like the way Jason Peters had really strong clamp hands and violent hands. That was Sua. He always had really strong hands. He struggled with anchor. He struggled with his footwork, but that seems to have come together. And now that he can play both sides, he's increased his value. We might be talking about Sua Opeta as like the same way we did like Nate Herbig or I don't want to say Big V. He's a tackle, but who else? No, Sam Malu was a long-time starter. But my point is a backup who gets his chance like Herbig, right? Plays well, and then 2 years he's signing a contract with another team, which the Eagles will be grateful for because then that helps them in the comp pick game.
Yeah.
Right. And that could very well happen with Opeta. I do want to make one clarification, though. I didn't ask John yesterday if the Eagles and the 49ers played, who would you pick? What I asked John was 5-0, both teams 5-0. If you're power rating the two teams, both at 5-0, because John and I agreed, first things first, got to be record. There's only 2 undefeated teams, so they got to be 1-2. How would you rank them 1 and 2? And I said, I would rank the 49ers ahead because I think they played better and been more impressive in their 5 wins. John said he would put the Eagles ahead because he just thinks the Eagles have a better roster, and he would break it down by roster rather than accomplishment.
Yeah, well, I
5-0.
apologize because when I hear the term power rankings, my head tends to turn off because I don't care about power. So I go to who's the better team. That's kind of what I default to when I ever hear power rankings. I say, well, that to me means who's the better team.
Right.
And I think
it's like, is MVP supposed to go to the best player or the player who is very literally the most valuable player to that player's you know?
Yeah. So it depends.
So we got to get you on the record, Moshe. Give it your power rankings of the NFL. Who's 1, who's 2?
Oh man.
Could be somebody else.
If I had to do a power rankings, I'd probably put the 49ers 1 and the Eagles 2.
Could be who did
a little bit more dominant.
Who did ESPN's football power index had Buffalo?
Oh, the index
lost team.
That's the most ridiculous thing on the planet.
Isn't that the one that has the Cowboys winning the Super Bowl every year? Okay.
Oh, they're actually dropped down to number 6, but the Eagles are number 7. Somehow the Eagles are 7. In what world, in any power rating, can a 5-0 team be 7th? Ridiculous.
I don't know. In the same world that I don't know if you guys remember I remember this vividly, even the year 2015. Aaron Rodgers throws like 5 touchdowns in a game. And I think it was right after his father passed. I don't know if somebody in his family passed away, something like that. It was an emotional game. He threw 5 touchdowns. And PFF gave him a minus grading. Yeah, they gave him a minus grading for the game because he threw too many passes that were like, lucky
touchdown, turnover worthy.
They could have been intercepted.
Turnover worthy plays. Well, remember when Denver came in here and was blown out by the Eagles, the Von Miller Broncos? Might have been the Super Bowl season. I think it was the Super Bowl year.
Yeah.
And Von Miller got a tremendous grade by Pro Football Focus. Eagles fan, I've never seen Eagles fans so fired up because they're like, you see the clips of Lane dominating him.
Right.
But he did have a good game. If you just break it down to everybody else had a bad game, but Von Miller was Von Miller. And that's like a lot of people said this week, Geoff, that Sua held up against Aaron Donald. Well, he got a lot of help. A lot of help.
Yeah, it's no knock on Sua.
No, I said that before he came on.
Yeah,
that's just smart coaching.
Yeah, that was a full court press.
Yes.
I mean, there were snaps, you saw it, John, where you count maybe 3 or 4 bodies.
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
It really was.
Nick let us in on that during the week. He said 99, 99, 90. Everything's about 99. And they did it, and they could afford to do it because the Rams, don't have a ton of talent on defense right now. But
you do have to sort of say, hey, good job though to guys like Stoll and Gainwell and other guys. Because when you do that, when you play that strategy, you need to single block other guys with guys who may not be linemen, right? So I thought they did a good job on the other guys, even if they're not Hall of Famers. You're still asking running backs and backup tight ends to make blocks, so that was good.
No question about it.
All right, I'm gonna be the same jerk to you that I was to Tommy Law earlier. And
can't you just be nice to me once?
No. Then that would ruin my reputation of being a dick. So I'm gonna do this again with you. Nick Sirianni with the win this past week went to 28-11 for his NFL coaching record. That's a 717 winning percentage, which puts him 4th all time. Coaches who have coached at least 2 years in the history of the National Football League. Not in the past 2 years, not in the past, the history of the National Football League. He's number 4.
Wow.
Who are the 3 coaches ahead of him?
All right, what the stat again is what? Road record?
718 winning percentage as a head coach.
Oh.
There are only 3 coaches in the history of the National Football League who have a better record, having coached a minimum of 2 years. You got to coach at least 2 years in Sirianni's now 2 years and 5 games. His winning percentage is 4th all time in the history of the NFL. Who are the 3 guys ahead of him?
You're not going to get one.
Wow, this is tough because it's got to be above 700, and all the great coaches have been like Reed and Shula and
Yeah.
Belichick. They've coached so long that there's no way they're above 700. So it's got to be someone who had a very short.
Hey, you're on the right track.
One, yes. One, yeah, I'm being unfair.
One
does actually go above and beyond.
One's really obvious. No, but you're on the right track. Just older. Think 70s.
Oh man, I'm not good with. I was born in 76, so
if Belichick isn't the greatest coach of all time, who is?
Shula.
Think
Before
about
Shula.
A trophy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I missed. I sort of missed the layup here on Vince.
Yeah.
Lombardi.
And then I would say video game.
Madden. Lombardi and Madden. Wow.
Lombardi and Madden, and the other one is Guy Chamberlain.
Of course. The great Guy Chamberlain. But here's what I said when Jody told me this. Here's my stat. What is the number one? Give me the number one again, Jody. The winning percentage.
Number one is Guy Chamberlain at 750. Excuse me. Yeah, 759.
759, Geoff. Nick Sirianni, since that 2-5 start, is 26-6, 813 winning percentage. 813 winning percentage.
Wow. He bought a lot of currency for the second half of this year's schedule. He can lose a few and still be really good.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to.
And that's why. That's why. Now, I don't know. InsideTheBirds.com, Geoff, obviously the great podcast with Adam Kaplan. Our buddy Andrew DeCecco does a great job. Had a lot of fun with him in LA, by the way, Geoff.
Nice.
I don't know if you guys get it, but I get it. A lot of Eagles fans, not all Eagles fans, but a lot of Eagles fans, I don't think they understand what this run is. This stuff doesn't happen in the NFL. It's a league built on parity. Everybody has bad weeks, and the Eagles have bad weeks, but they win games.
Yeah. You know, I was watching, I'm late to every series and show. I still haven't even made it to 2 episodes of Quarterback yet on Netflix, but I watched the whole Tom Brady Man in the Arena thing earlier this year, or maybe 4 months ago, which I didn't really enjoy, by the way. I thought it kind of got stale after the first 2 or 3 episodes. But the point was, you can tell every time they won the Super Bowl or went to a Super Bowl the next year, they lost so many they would always get off to slower starts and then pick up middle of the year and then hit their stride in late October, November. For the Eagles to just they did not have the Super Bowl hangover. Look at the Bengals. Last year they were a 5-6 team.
Yeah, I picked the Bengals to go to the Super Bowl. I mushed
not the only one.
I mushed them, Geoff.
You are not the only one.
So then again, there are some of us that pick the Jets. At least I got an explanation. I got it out. I got Aaron Rodgers to blame for it.
Yeah, but you know what, Cody? You should have known better. Being your roots, you should have known a whole lot better than that.
Yeah.
It's been 50 friggin' years, and I'm waiting for a return to the Super Bowl, and it's the first time ever, Geoff. I've been doing either this stuff or radio for sneaking up on 40 years. I've never picked the Jets once to go to the Super Bowl. This was the first time in 37 years of doing radio that I ever picked the Jets. And I was wrong after 4 fucking snaps.
Should have known. You should have. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on
me.
you.
Killing me.
All right. At Geoff P. Mosher, make sure you follow Geoff on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. All right, we'll talk about Jalen Hurts. So Jalen is now 22-1 in his last 23 regular season starts, dating back to week 15 of 2021. That winning percentage, by the way, is 957 for those who care. He is the 5th NFL quarterback to win 22 out of 23 in that kind of stretch. The other 4 are Brady, Manning, Montana, and Jim McMahon, that great Bears run, that great Bears team, best team still to this day I've ever seen. 85 Bears. This week, if he wins, and let's be honest, it's Jody's Jets, so he's going to win the game. It's Brady. Montana drops off, so it's just Brady, Manning, McMahon I can't say enough about this run, Jeff. It is unbelievable.
Has anybody done the collective Jalen Hurts winning percentage going back to high school? I mean, it's got to be
It's
got to be
outrageous.
ridiculous, right? I mean,
So my question though is, where does it end? They're not going 17-0. Where does it end?
They're not right. Yeah, obviously the second half of the year, there's going to be a loss or two in there. They're still going to finish really high. It was so I didn't think they were going to start 5-0 or 6-0.
Either did I.
I'm already giving them a Jets win. I shouldn't do that, but I didn't think that they would start off that good. I thought they'd be good, but not that good. They bought themselves a lot of room for error in that second half of the schedule, especially with the Cowboys already losing 2 games. And eventually, John, like this, like the cream will it'll settle. Like they're not going to be a 14-win team for the next 7 straight years.
No,
but the way they're able to, if they keep focusing on the line the way they do, and the rest of the league keeps ignoring it the way it does,
that's
maybe
man.
maybe they will.
the fact that this league gave this roster Jalen Carter, I say it all the time on this show. That is dereliction of duty from every NFL organization. Now, obviously, they all didn't have a chance at Jalen Carter. I pick on the poor Bears because they could have got him twice. It's understandable they didn't want to take him at number 1 overall because of the issues. Then they could have taken him again at number 9. They said, nope, we don't need him. We have the worst defensive front in the football. Why would we need him?
Why would we want that? Yeah.
It's amazing to me.
Well, we just poured $35 million into linebackers, off-ball linebackers. Why would we actually want to give ourselves a defensive tackle who could keep those guys clean? I don't know.
Doesn't quite add. All right, couple things before we let you run, Mosher. Number one, the Jalen Hurts numbers you got just are pretty damn impressive and keeping very good company, and one could come off the list. I understand looking forward. Don't forget to look behind, because that Purdy guy is never lost a game as a starter, as a regular season guy. And so he could have someone coming up behind him while he's looking ahead to some of these all-time greats that he's putting up numbers with. Just thought I'd mention that. And number two, go ahead and give him a win against the Jets. He told me I shouldn't have. Then I'm going to say, yeah, okay, if I got to acknowledge the fact that the Jets are now a compromised team because Aaron Rodgers is sitting up there playing with his beard in the press box rather than on the field throwing passes. Yeah, I have permission. I'm going to go ahead and give the Eagles a win against the Jets this week. Now, the next week against Miami, that could be another story.
That's what I like to say. That's when the fun begins. When you look at the schedule, that is when the fun begins.
Two phrases Mosher used today that I will steal. That's when the fun begins, and the Eagles are bullies up front. Like them both, Mosher. Thank you much for jumping in, buddy. We'll get you up again soon.
All right, guys, have fun. It was always good.
Thanks, Geoff.
Website, InsideTheBirds.com, and the podcast he does with Adam Catlin, InsideTheBirds.com. All right, McMullen and McDonald, we got to come back, put a bow on this show. Stick around. Final thoughts on Birds 365.